last night's Heat Pistons game was pretty much the Tyler Herro Max Strus show. Uh, Looking at the game late, Tyler Herro, it's the chaotic shot to basically put them up, and then Max Strus ends up hitting it 45 seconds left, put them up three, which ended up winning the game. But it was much more than that. It was much more than the final minute. It was just the entire game being that steady rock, being the offensive punch. I think it was 33 of 55 points at the half. Like these two were really the engine for everything. So I just want to go through some of the ways they were being utilized and some of the shots that they were getting. The interesting thing about Max Strus, I'm going to start right here, is he was plugged in at power forward last night, much like he was the game before that as well. As much as this team is a positionless team, they still have to go through some things and be used in a position that they're being put in. So right here, you see Max Strus is the power forward. That means he's getting some dunker spot reps, some baseline roaming, which is interesting for him. And it's different, but it's also pretty productive because he's one of those type of players that's pretty versatile in that offensive role. So you see right here, Duncan and Strus playing together is an interesting combo, and I'm going to talk about another combo later on with Tyler Herro included. But right here we see, a weak side with Duncan in the corner and Strus in the dunker spot. That's just a pretty, intriguing type of offensive spacing, something we haven't seen much of this season. Right here, Max Strus stays in the dunker spot. Defenders are just kind of a miscommunication, but he's able to sit there and he goes up for the dunk. That's useful. It's a very useful tool. I think it speaks to a lot of what we're when we compare Duncan and Max, which shouldn't happen a lot. But the interesting thing about Max compared to Duncan is he doesn't let his three-point shooting dictate his inside game. And I think that's something we have to talk about with Duncan. After another, struggling performance, he did not get inside the lane much. The last time he struggled was he was 2 for 10 from three. He was also 0 for 1 from two. It seems like when the three-point shot's not falling, he can't get to his twos either. This game, it was the same thing. He's not getting inside the lane like he was the game prior. But Max Strus, obviously, he was shooting the ball well, and he also was getting inside the lane. Another one we're going to see right here, just a high pick and roll for Tyler, which is something else I'm going to touch on next. He hits KJ Paul in the middle of the floor. And right here, something Max Strus has gotten really good at, something he wasn't his specialty coming in when he first started with Miami, first getting some reps, which is reading his individual defender and kind of just being instinctive and not just being a guy that's just inside the offense and playing so structurally. Now it's kind of he's just playing freely. So as I go back right here, just watch one more time, he's going to watch his defender. He's got his eyes on the ball, waiting for the tag. Max Strus cuts, and he has him lost. He goes up for easy. Not so easy and one, but it's just interesting the way that Max Strus can be utilized in that way. Now as I go to Tyler had some interesting ways to go about things as well. As I start here, this is a quick clip, but it's something interesting to look at the beginning of this play right here, where Tyler is starting his possessions. He's starting them higher than ever, and I think that's really important because especially when you're without initiators, drivers like Jimmy, guys like Bam, and lineups without Kyle, it's just they need to start higher in this way. Gives him more room to roam, and also it leads to things as we saw last night. His driving game and his mid-range game was, at his best as it's been all season, much because of the way he's starting out so much higher. So as you see right here, interesting thing about it, as I mentioned before, the Duncan Max Strus lineups. The Duncan Max Strus Tyler Herro lineups is not something I expect to see much when they have an healthy roster, just because it's such a defensive liability of a lineup. But offensively, they should be able to generate some things, get some good looks, and that's what was done here. It wasn't seen much. I think it was seen for probably like a total of 6 minutes in last game. So as we see right here, you're going to see them both clear out, and both of their gravity from beyond the arc, no matter how bad Duncan's shooting or where Max Strus is on the floor, both of them clearing out to a weak side is just mostly going to lead to a pretty clear lane. So as I go one more time, go back here, Tyler Herro is going to drive, both of them clear out, and it's a wide open lane for Tyler Herro. Like, that stuff's intriguing, but obviously I just don't see a way you can go about it defensively and go about those lineups for too long. But obviously when you put two of those guys on the floor and have one clearing out to the weak side, it could still be a useful tool. Another one for Tyler Herro. Once again, just kind of carving up the lane. I think it's interesting just the way he's getting inside the lane. How many defenders are coming up to him as well, but it's also these reads he's able to make and these passes he's able to make. We constantly talk about the reads. I brought up his reads in the last breakdowns, but it's also his ability to make the passes, which is just as hard to do. And I think it's interesting that he's able to kind of combo this right now at this stage of his career, where he's able to make these type of skip passes or make these reads at the same time in the normal flow. He seemed like he was getting stuck in the air a few times early in the season or recently, and it led to some turnovers. But it also can lead to good stuff like this. As I go back one more time, He sees the defender close over. He knows his guy's wide open. That's kind of what the defense wanted, was to just pull off, get to Tyler driving and dip off of KZ Okpala. And right here, KZ makes him pay. Another thing is just the amount of defenders that Tyler Herro gets thrown on him from possession to possession. Like, the amount of eyes that are on him and the worry that he puts on a defense is just at a different level right now. As you see right here, he comes off this curl, he goes, refuses the screen like he does. We see already a hedge by Lyles. When you're setting the screen, just kind of cutting off that screen. He refuses the screen and goes baseline. He drives baseline, and look who's there. KZ Okpala's defender. It seems like when you have these offensive limitation players on the floor, Tyler Herro is going to see more and more bodies per possession. But the thing about Tyler is he's not fazed by extra players, extra defenders. He goes right up on them, fades away into his nice mid-range, and knocks it down. That's just an intriguing thing to see, that he's able to kind of go about that and see so many different defenders and still be able to score. Because if we look forward onto a healthy roster, they're not going to be able to pull off a Jimmy or a Bam too many times in a game, possession after possession. And Tyler's looks are probably going to get easier as the season goes on late in the season. The last one was a lot of Tyler Herro, was a lot of Max Strus. But Kyle Lowry deserves some credit too. 7-0 run late in the fourth really got stuff going for Miami, really got them back into that game. But I just want to go through this one play, and it needs some context because it just shows how smart of a basketball player Kyle Lowry is, especially offensively, just the way he can go about things on the ball. Yes, he's a great playmaker, but he's also a good scorer. He's a great scorer when he wants to be, when he tries to score, when he gets into that aggressive mode. Right here in this time, at this point in the game, he just got his 5th foul, and it's time to maybe decrease his aggressiveness because he cannot risk going out of this game. Usually in these possessions, you see him kind of go into the fast break, and he's going to plow down the floor and try to get in just physicality-wise and go up for a layup. As you see right here, all of his drives late in this fourth were a lot different than we're used to. As we see right here, he's going to drive down the floor. He kind of gets him on an angle. He stops and spins. It was a nice move. As you see right here, he ends up going up, gets an and one finish. But I don't think Kyle Lowry would have done that if he didn't have 5 fouls. That was a total, just at the top of his mind, he was thinking about that he could not get an offensive foul right there. He goes into the spin and it ends up working out for him. But that is a smart play from Kyle Lowry, not risking getting out of the game, not risking making a stupid mistake offensively and getting Detroit a charge. Like, that is a big-time bucket. That's a big-time move, and it's just a smart play from a smart player. So Miami did end up getting a win. It's a big win. 2.5 games out of first right now. They sit at the 3 seed in the East. They're in a decent spot, and obviously they're without so many guys. But as we keep talking about the developments from some of these guys that we're seeing, Tyler's getting better. But obviously it's going to be decision time coming up for Eric Spoelstra, because guys like Max Strus, I don't see a way he could be shelved if he's keeping up this type of production, hitting these shots and obviously just scoring all around like he was last night.